Russian President Vladimir Putin forged a deal with North Korea's Kim Jong un during his first state visit to the country in 24 years. The treaty reached between both countries will lead to increased trade and a mutual pact to defend each other in the event of an attack. The agreement said there was a possible opportunity for enhanced defense and technology sharing, which comes as North Korea is supplying artillery shells to Russia for use in Ukraine, and Moscow is giving Pyongyang access to critical technology for missile and space satellite development. Both Kim and Putin are also pushed for what they called a multipolar world, or the end of U.S. dominance, and for a halt to sanctions and restrictions against nations. Putin said the deal was a groundbreaking document, and on Tuesday announced the Kremlin's support for North Korea. Russia has incessantly supported and will support North Korea and the heroic Korean people in their struggle against a treacherous, dangerous, and aggressive enemy, Putin said, according to Russian state-run media. Relations between our countries are entering a golden age that cannot be compared even to last century's era of Korean-Soviet ties, Kim added in his own remarks shared by Russian state media. The agreement comes as the U.S. has been trying to blunt both Russia and North Korea's military provocations and to isolate both nations. Secretary of State Antony Blinken told reporters on Tuesday that Putin must be disabused of the notion that he can outlast Ukraine. We are very much concerned about this because this is what's happening. This is what's keeping the war going, he said. The agreement also is troubling for South Korea, where North Korean troops have temporarily crossed the border twice after a 2018 military treaty limiting certain actions at the demilitarized zone was abandoned by both countries. Hostilities have flared between North Korea and South Korea, with Kim also rejecting any peaceful unification with his neighbor, increasing military drills, and successfully launching at least one spy satellite. He has also sent balloons of trash toward South Korea. Pentagon Press Secretary Major General Pat Ryder told reporters this week that the deepening cooperation between Russia and North Korea is something that should be of concern, especially to anyone that's interested in maintaining peace and stability in the Korean Peninsula. So what does this agreement mean for the world? Well, I talked about this before. North Korea probably couldn't care less about Russia rightfully, in the eyes of Putin. I'm quoting, or rather, speaking from his perspective, rightfully taking back Ukraine as a part of their efforts to reintegrate the Soviet Union. But what Kim has noticed is, hey, the United States really does not get along with you. We also really don't get along with the United States. We should team up. And I think that attempt to side with each other is built more around the idea that, look, we're not exactly NATO friendly. We're not exactly UN friendly. We don't really have anyone besides this group of countries that are like on the outer rim. They're not really connected to that whole, I hate to say the word globalist, but they're not part of the international community in a way that's accepted and considered to be, an ally towards most of these other regions. So they're like, hey, look, we don't have that many friends. We have to stick together. And I don't see North Korea sending troops to help out in the Ukraine war. I just don't think that Kim Jong Un would fly for that. His whole thing is to be as insulated as possible. I do believe he'll probably try to, at a minimum, maybe sell some weapons, right? Kind of like be a dark mirror version of what the U.S. is for Ukraine with the like unlimited financial support and whatnot. But it's you learn a lot when you read these articles. I didn't even know Putin had been to North Korea, and that's really more so because a lot of these when these foreign leaders get talked about in the U.S., they tend to only focus on either what they do to their own country or their relations with America. They don't really talk about specific interactions between the various other regions of the world. But this is a good thing for Putin because he's gotten himself a pretty, I would say, so North Korea is not stable in the sense that they would be this great, amazing ally, but they are stable in being condemned and not accepted by the rest of the world. So I don't think he'd have to worry about Kim turning on him. but it still is something that I don't believe will change the result of the war at this point. I think Ukraine's probably going to still end up just sweeping the streets of with with Russia, because that's way more support from multiple other countries. God, this really is the equivalent of two unpopular kids in high school get like just sitting together at a table. And like maybe if we stick together, we might be able to change things and get more popular. It's like, no, you're still disliked by most of the other kids that are in that school. You just happen to have found a friend. But it's not really going to mean much in terms of actually, moving the needle that much. He said it's a golden age. I mean, I really believe that after this war is over, Russia is, it's not going to be as polarized as North Korea is, right? Because North Korea's, just widely known as a dictatorship. Um, Russia has elements of that with its whole like state-run media and whatnot, but I think Russia after this war is over, and that could be in another year, another 2 years, 3 years, who knows? It will be a country that people will try to avoid. Um, Maybe some of the bigger ones like the U.S., like Britain down the line, will try to make some deals with as far as, hey, we can have trade and whatnot, but this conflict is going to be a stain on it for a long time. Like, it's going to take Putin being out of office and probably a whole generation to just start undoing some of the damage that it's done to itself with this conflict. Now, of course, North Korea won't care because North Korea's a pariah on the world stage, but still,